So the Asus ROG Ally has just come out and I raced straight to the shops to pick up my pre-order. And there's a reason why I was excited for this gaming console, and that's because I wanted to see if it could run VR. And the results were surprising. So in today's video, I want to tell you all about this neat little gaming gadget and whether it's a potential candidate for a cheap PC VR gaming setup. So let's get into it. So the Asus ROG Ally is a portable gaming console and it's kind of designed to be a competitor to the Steam Deck, but I guess it's similar to the Nintendo Switch as well. But what's unique about the Asus is that it runs Windows 11. So that means you can install all your favorite games from all the different installers like Xbox Game Pass, Steam, Epic Games, or VR games. In the box comes with your sleek portable console, your basic instruction info, and a wall charger. The design is pretty sleek and light and weighs about 1.3 pounds, which is smaller and lighter than the Steam Deck. And everything is designed to be curved to make it more ergonomic to create a more comfortable gaming experience. The layout is similar to that of a gaming controller. It has 2 analog sticks and your typical directional pad and ABXY buttons, along with your right and left triggers, and it even has macro buttons at the back, and all these buttons can be reconfigured to set up how you like. It has inbuilt speakers, which are actually pretty decent, and it has 2 inbuilt fans to help with heat management. And the analog sticks also have these cool glowing RGBs, which is kind of cool. For the display, we have a 7-inch Full HD 1080p display with 120Hz refresh rate, and display is a touchscreen, which makes it really easy to use. It's very user-friendly. And it has Gorilla Glass and IPD technology, so it's all nice and tough, and it can be seen easily in the sunlight thanks to the 500 nits of brightness. In terms of inputs, it's got an audio jack, a micro SD card so you can expand your storage, a USB-C port, along with a port for Asus's own mobile products. It also has 512 gigabytes of storage, which is pretty decent, and the battery life is around 2 hours, depending what you're playing and what your settings are. In terms of using it, I found it really intuitive. If you know how to use a Windows PC, then you probably know how to run this thing. It's basically just like a laptop, but in a smaller form factor. It comes with Steam and Xbox Game Pass already installed via the Asus Armory program, plus the game Moving Out is already installed, which is a super fun game and Australian made. But from there, you can basically just download whatever you want. You can just jump on the internet and download Epic Games or the EA installer or Oculus software. You can basically just download any games that your heart desires. I jumped into some Steam games at first because that's where most of my library is. And the screen on this thing is definitely impressive. Because of its small size, it's basically just a bunch of quality crammed into a smaller form factor, so you can definitely see that within the display. I also used it in the sunlight and had no issues there. It was still really bright and I could see exactly what I was doing. The buttons feel responsive and ergonomically, I found it quite comfortable. Like, it just felt really natural to pick this thing up and use it. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't download too many games because I did find it was quite slow in downloading games, but I did check out some Apex Legends briefly, and I was really impressed. I got a bit of lag when loading into the map for the first time, but once it kind of leveled out, it ran pretty seamlessly. I was actually surprised to be enjoying playing an FPS on this thing. Like, everything was like smooth and intuitive, and I was able to just pick up guns and shoot and just apply everything I already knew about this game straight to the little device. It was very natural. My controller skills are lacking a little bit because I usually play on PC and mouse, but the cool thing is you can use a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse with this thing, so that's a cool option as well. And also, if you buy the adapter, you can just plug it straight into your TV and use it with a wireless controller or keyboard and mouse as well. So in terms of gaming device, it's pretty versatile. I did try out some Portal 2, but I couldn't get the controls working. In the device's settings, there's an option to switch between controller mode and desktop mode, and I played around with this but couldn't quite get it to work. So I guess for all games, they're not just gonna work seamlessly. I expect if I was to mess around with some settings, I could have got it working, but straight out the gate, it didn't seem to work straight away. So just a heads up that not all your games are automatically gonna work with this. But you're not here to see how PC games run. You wanna know about the VR games. Well, first thing I did was install the Oculus app. This allows you to install the desktop mode, and then this allows you to use AirLink with your Quest so you can wirelessly connect to the device and play your PC VR games. I did get a warning saying that this PC isn't optimized for VR, but considering this GPU isn't a normal GPU, I kind of just ignored it and was like, it'll be fine. So I booted it up and then powered on my Quest and connected to the AirLink, and it worked. I was in. And then from there, I was able to boot up Steam VR via Steam and jump into some VR games. And of course, I tried my favorite VR game, Beat Saber, and I was very surprised. It ran well, like surprisingly well. It downscaled the bitrate a fair bit, so the resolution was on the lower side, but performance-wise, it was perfect. I didn't have any latency, everything was really smooth, I didn't get any stutters, I was shocked. Now I do want to say a big disclaimer. A lot of how this performs will be determined by your Wi-Fi connection. I have an Orbi tri-band Wi-Fi 6 mesh system, so my experience may be totally different to yours, and a lot of it's just going to come down to Wi-Fi. But you may be wondering, but Nazy, why should we care if this works? I can play VR games with my Quest already. Well, the reason why PC VR gaming is great is that it unlocks a whole new world of VR gaming. There's a whole wonderful world of mods out there for VR. Mods that can alter your game, mods that let you play your favorite PC games in VR, and of course the wonderful world of custom songs and mods for Beat Saber. There's also a huge library of awesome games that are only available for PC VR as well. One of my favorite exclusive PC VR exclusives is Hellsplit Arena. This game is basically a realistic combat game. It's kind of like Blade and Sorcery, but it's better in my opinion. And again, it ran pretty seamlessly on the Quest. It did downscale a fair bit. Like, it definitely was a bit blocky and blurry, but latency wise, it was fine. It was nice and smooth. I was able to play the game fine. And visually, it was fine. Like, it wasn't an amazing experience, but it was definitely still really playable and fun. I think if you definitely wanted to check out this game for the gameplay, you could still have a really great experience, but you're probably gonna be disappointed with the visuals of it and this setup. And speaking of graphics, I tried Half-Life Alyx, which is usually a good benchmark for VR games in terms of what's graphically possible. And again, it ran pretty decent. There was definitely a bit of latency on this one, but it was still completely playable. I had a weird issue though, that the floor kind of disappeared and there was like these red lines everywhere. It was a bit odd, but it was playable. So if you wanted to play Half-Life Alyx for the gameplay, then you could definitely still experience it this way. It just graphically won't look good. I then jumped into some modded Beat Saber for your Beat Saber fans out there. And I think the big benefit of this is easily being able to play Beat Saber mods and custom songs easily via PC VR, because it is a nightmare to mod the Quest for Beat Saber. Like, it's such a nightmare, but doing it on PC VR, it's so much easier. Everything looks so much better. And the big thing for modding Beat Saber is you get things like noodle extensions, which is the really cool animated maps. And you can kind of mod it and get it on the Quest, but half the time it doesn't work, and the other half, it just doesn't look very good. So that's the real benefit of PC VR modding for Beat Saber, is that it just unlocks so much. But playing Beat Saber on this thing was actually a really nice experience. Like, graphically, I would say it was almost on par to the standalone Quest version. I checked out a bunch of like intensive Beat Saber maps, and I think one of them maybe had like audio delay a bit, but outside of that, completely playable, and visually it was still really impressive. I was trying to film this review, but I ended up playing Beat Saber for like an hour, so I was definitely having fun with it. But all in all, I was actually pleasantly surprised with how well VR ran on this thing. Like, ultimately, I wouldn't suggest this device just for VR, but if you're looking for a standalone gaming console, I feel like the fact that it can run VR kind of sweetens the deal. I know there's lots of people who want to get into PC VR gaming, but are stuck by the costs of having to invest into a gaming PC, and gaming PCs are really expensive, and they take up a lot of room. But you can probably get an equivalent gaming laptop for the same price as this thing. But personally, I hate gaming on laptops. I find it really uncomfortable. I would much rather play games on this thing because it's actually designed to be for gaming with the analog sticks and buttons and the ergonomics. But for those who want a cheap PC gaming solution, this could be a good option. I think especially for those who may be on a budget or just really want the portable option. I feel like for younger folk, it'll probably be easier to convince your parents to buy one of these than a whole PC gaming laptop. And for using it in VR, I think it could be a good entry-level PC VR gaming setup, but again, I don't know if I recommend it just for VR. But if you just want to play something like modded Beat Saber or something that's not super graphically impressive, I think you could still have a really good time using this device for VR. And if you want to play those graphically impressive games, it kind of feels like a waste. It's like playing The Witcher 3 on an old CRT monitor. You can do it, but it's kind of a waste. But something neat about this little handheld device is that you can actually buy an external mobile graphics card to plug into this thing, so you can unlock even more graphics potential, which is pretty insane. But in conclusion, I was really impressed with this little device. I think the fact that it can run VR is a really nice added benefit. For me, I'll probably use it for PC gaming and maybe the occasional Beat Saber, or if I'm going to a friend's house and want to show off some VR games, I think it'll be really cool for that. But seeing what's capable with this hardware makes me really excited for the future of tech and VR gaming. Like, it makes me wonder what Valve's working on with their rumored Valve Deckard, whether it'll be like a Steam Deck within a VR headset. I think it could be really really cool. But anyway, let me know what you think of this device in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!